What's good, everyone? If you are around to join us this morning or this afternoon now, I guess, depending on where home is for you, thank you so much for joining us. This is the second day of our fall member drive, where the Strongtown staff has all hands on deck to try to grow this movement. A lot of great things happening at Strongtowns these days, a lot of great momentum. As you may know, Strongtown's president and founder, Chuck Marohn, recently released his book, Strong Towns, A Bottom-Up Revolution to Rebuild American Prosperity. I got a few Sioux Falls folk here. Jordan, I've seen you posting that you got the book in Sioux Falls now. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Our local bookshop is carrying it.
I love it.
Got them doing it. And yeah, I finished it just a week ago, and it's really, really great. Really compiles all the sort of philosophy down to a nice 180 page read.
Yeah.
And really solid.
Beautiful, man. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. And then we also got the Strong America tour going down. Chuck, to celebrate the release of the book, has visited, I think 40 communities thus far. Going to knock out another dozen to finish up 2019, knock out some more in 2020. So a really exciting time for this movement and get more members to join. But it's important to remember, as all this really cool stuff is happening on the national level, it's important to go back to, the roots of strong towns and to remind ourselves and everyone that while it's great to have this book out, to have this tour, what truly makes this movement are the Strong Towns members. And that's why for this webcast, we got Strong Towns member Julian Deffenbaugh out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And then Julian Beaudion. Oh, I haven't said your last name yet. Did I pronounce that correct, Julian? I've just been hollering at you, Julian.
No, not quite, but that's all right. Yeah.
I'll get it right later.
Yeah.
But fellas, overjoyed to have you on the Facebook group today. Got a really great discussion today about how the Strong Towns movement influences people to take action in their communities. Yes, we're a media organization, but this content is also inspiring a bottom-up revolution. And the two of you and the rest of the Strongtown Sioux Falls group have done a fantastic job of this. So overjoyed to have you on the podcast. To get us started, will the two of you briefly introduce yourselves?
Well, I'm Jordan Deffenbaugh. I was one of the founding members of Strongtown Sioux Falls. Really, what we do is we meet every week, we talk, and these conversations inspire certain actions within the community.
Beautiful.
So,
yeah. My intro, if it gets too long, you just let me know.
I know you got a long list.
Yeah.
You're good.
Julian Beaudion is my name. I'm a law enforcement officer for the state of South Dakota. My wife and I also own a restaurant in town called Swamp Daddy's Cajun Kitchen. We work with various community organizations as well. I'm currently the assistant director for the South Dakota African American History Museum. And then also I sit on the board of directors for the Sioux Falls Multicultural Center. And I'm the vice president of a group called Established Sustainable Connections. So 3 different nonprofit organizations that we work with on a day-to-day basis. And so we're really here to engage with the community, and Strong Towns has been influential in that effort. So.
That's awesome, Julian. Yeah, you're doing a lot of great work. I remember the first time that Jordan introduced me to you via Facebook. He said, man, we got this guy, Julian, making out a lot of great work in the community, getting plugged into Strongtown. So we are overjoyed to have you as a part of this movement. Jordan, I want to flash back a little bit because it kind of helps capture the whole Strongtown story and how it's influenced Sioux Falls and eventually got Julian into the picture. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you discovered Strongtowns?
I came back to Sioux Falls to pardon my French, but raise a little hell. And I saw a city that had wealth, but that was squandering it. We were making investments in things, and I'm originally from here, left for about 10 years and saw the world and came back. And I realized that we could be a truly great city, but right now what we're doing is we're throwing our money away on projects that are not going to have a return on investment. Like, for instance, we spend about 80 to 85% of our tax revenue, city tax revenue, on roads, road construction and road maintenance. And I hear a number of city officials refer to our roads as assets. And having just read the Strong Towns book, having this fresh in my mind, these are not assets, they're liabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And if we continue to sprawl like we do, to continue to build cities like we do, to continue to squander assets like we do, we are not going to have a city of wealth in the next 10, 20, 30 years. We're going to be paying our debts continually, and we're going to be bankrupt. And I think channeling our resources towards human infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
to the sorts of things that you're working on, are far better investments. And so that's where I find myself today, is like I'm connecting with new leaders, emerging leaders like Julian here, that are going to reshape how we allocate our resources in the future.
I love that, Jordan. It just speaks to the power of mobilizing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you found the Strong Towns message. You got some kinfolk in your community to get together, and some really remarkable things have followed. You attended Chuck's presentation in Sioux Falls. Is that correct? Was that the first time you discovered Strong Towns?
I had read Strong Towns, like the blog and everything, and I was pretty interested. But then when Chuck came, would have been over just about 2 years ago. That's where I saw the light of sorts. Like Chuck has a really wonderful way to just distill it down to the facts. Like, do the math, as he says. Do the math about how we are allocating resources in our community, and it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
It makes little to no sense. So I think a lot of that, I got together with a journalist, and we were like, we need to get this message out. So we started meeting weekly at a local coffee shop at the same time, and just kept. I mean, we have it again tomorrow night at 5:30 at the Source. And that's the point, is to be consistent and iterative, and have these conversations. And then from those conversations, actions can occur.
I love it, Jordan. And listeners, if you're unfamiliar with these types of groups that Jordan's explaining, these are what at Strong Towns we call local conversations. So these are groups of Strong Towns readers and members who, love their place and want to help make it stronger, and meet either online or in person to discuss as a community how they can make that happen. We have about 88 of them, which is crazy. One of which, of course, is Strong Town Sioux Falls. And if you want to check out if there's one in your community, go to strongtowns.org/local. You can peep that map. Julian, go ahead, Jordan. You're good.
I was just going to say, if there isn't one, start one.
That's right. That's the main call to action. Let's get one going. And Strong Towns is here to help. We have a huge database of emails. We'll holler at all the folk near your community, encouraging them to join your posse. Really great next step to take. So Julian, I know Jordan has started the Strong Town Sioux Falls group with Clint, who hasn't joined us today, but another great advocate in the community. What were you observing with this rowdy crew of Sioux Falls folk meeting once a week that inspired you to get involved with them?
So, what really inspired me the most was the actionable items that were left from Citizen Taco that these guys put on. It was mandatory that you come up with an idea, but the biggest part of that idea was to make sure you make an impact in 30 days. And so we don't, we tend in this community to talk until we're blue in the face about ideas, even about the impact the idea can make, but we never take the first step to actually be impactful. And so, putting it down on paper, talking with community members, sharing your ideas, and meeting experts in the field to where you might not understand some of the aspects of your idea. It was really beneficial. And then hammering it down in 30 days and saying, all right, this is the idea, but I'm going to get it done. And I think that really impacted the social change in our community for sure. So that's one of the things. But also, can I touch on one of the things that he said as well?
Go for it, Julian. You're good.
He was mentioning too about the way we've spent money in our community, the way we spent money in our city, and the allocation of funds. One of the things that I hear people say all the time is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
But when they say that, to me, it brings about a mentality of, I don't want to get better. I don't want to progress.
Yes.
Right. And so just because it's not broken doesn't mean we can't make it better.
Mm-hmm.
And so reallocation of funds, even looking at how we can reallocate funds and where we can move some of those things in various infrastructure methods and models, I think can be extremely beneficial to Sioux Falls. So.
Yeah, and with this conversation of looking at the finances, I think this is where your group and many groups shine, is that you present another way. I think that if it ain't broke, don't fix the mentality. It's just a willingness to stick with the status quo.
Absolutely.
It's safe. We get that short-term growth, not really considering those long-term liabilities. In your two experiences, getting this posse together, getting some experts involved. I follow the Facebook group. I see some council person people in there. You're playing a great mix of folk. How have they responded to y'all saying, hey, this isn't the way they build wealth for our communities. There is another way. Have they been receptive to that message? Has anything worked in particular to get them involved? I see you ready to speak, Jordan. What you got?
It's mixed. This is definitely a place you're going to get pushback whenever you start. And this is definitely a place that if you provide criticism, they say that you're being negative. And they don't like negativity. But I'm like, one of my frustrations with that is if you are constantly saying that, oh, it's just good enough, there's going to be a point where it isn't. Mm-hmm. Like, if the water is rising and you're not drowning, but it's at your chest and you just say it's good enough, there's going to be a point where it's here. Yeah. And yeah, sure, that's just good enough, but it won't be long before you're breathing. Yeah. It's like, I think it's a matter of you have to maintain. I think it's really easy to get cynical, very easy to get cynical, especially if you spend a lot of time researching these things. I was just in Eindhoven, Netherlands, about just over a week ago. Shoot. And when you think about the infrastructure and how they design things, they're on a whole nother level. So to come back here where we have 12-foot wide roads and not very walkable communities, it's a bit of a culture shock. But and that's I think you just have to keep chipping away, have some grace, you make sure you don't devolve into cynicism, and just be overall positive but objective.
How has having an actual group of Strong Towns members and advocates help kind of bridge that gap between the message that we all believe in to build financial resiliency and the status quo that our leaders may have in their mind?
I think accountability, community, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think I feel like having a group like that, and I think any community leader has a group that they talk to, they go to. Yeah. That's the whetstone to sharpen the blade, so to speak.
But one of the things that I've noticed here is the people that work in these type of activities are the same people over and over and over again. But one thing that I've noticed, in especially when you talk about Citizen Tacos specifically, there have been some new faces in the room.
Awesome.
So that, to me, that's what the group actually brings to the table is the impact that it has outside of your normal circle. And so I've seen a lot of new faces, got a chance to meet a lot of new people and talk to them. And so that's been great.
Mm-hmm.
Julian, give us a few examples of your favorite actions that we've seen inspired from Citizen Taco.
Favorite actions from Citizen Taco. I think my favorite so far is, because it's near and dear to my heart, is the actions that have come from removing lawns or replacing lawns with native prairies.
Right, yeah.
There's Boyd. So Boyd McPeak, he has been with us since the very beginning. And he has been on this journey for several years of turning his lawn into a native pollinator habitat. And that's been on the news a lot lately. It's finally sort of emerging. We have a massive reduction in pollinators in this region by 40% within the last, say, 40 years or so. We are in the direct route of the monarch butterfly out to Ohio. We have a massive industry when it comes to beekeeping. And if we lose the pollinators, we lose agriculture.
Yeah.
It's dire. And so Boyd has been sort of on the bleeding edge of this, kind of a crazy person. And I think anyone who's doing it.
Oh yeah, you gotta have to be a little bit crazy.
Yeah, you gotta be a little on the edge. But he is not a public speaker. He's a former engineer, retired, very to himself. But we kept saying to him, it's like, Boyd, you need to get out in front and be the expert.
Yeah.
Because you are the expert. And you have the authority to speak to these things. So just the one event. And the reason I like to point at that one is it's not super big. It's like literally he taught a class. He taught a sidewalk seminar.
Wow.
And now, fast forward to right now, now he's going out in front of city council advocating for pollinators. Yep. Now he's talking about setting up a classroom in his yard. Now he's talking about working with a local foundry that has about an acre of land he wants to turn into a pollinator habitat. Now he got that taste from just like doing that little thing.
Yes.
And now he's like, wait, I can do this.
It's a taste of success.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
It's amazing. It gives me goosebumps just as you're explaining that, Jordan. And I feel somewhat confident saying that action would have never occurred if it weren't for a group like Strongtown Sioux Falls. This is a group getting together, and you're essentially giving people permission to dream of how they can make their place stronger.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe people don't think that a sidewalk seminar is, an example of making a place stronger, but it is. These are these small bets for more community engagement, preserving pollinators. That's remarkable. Julian, forgive me for interrupting you. What were you going to say?
You're good. I was just going to say it definitely empowers community members who, you talk about this guy who's even afraid to just talk in front of 2 or 3 people.
Wow.
And look at what he's doing now just because of the support from the group.
It's remarkable.
I hate to even look at it as a support group, but it really is. I mean, we are really here for each other in the efforts that we're taking to build a stronger community. And so it's powerful to see the empowerment behind the scenes. That's the biggest thing for me, is to empower voices, empower people. And when you get people standing up for themselves and what they believe in, and what they believe can make a stronger community, that's when we can actually start to see change in our community.
I love it. And it doesn't require like a grand scheme or a master plan. In the case of this gentleman, post up on your driveway, invite your peers to set up their lawn chairs in the sidewalk, build some buzz, and grow the Sioux Falls movement from there. That's remarkable. And listeners, if you're interested in this citizen taco concept, super dope. We had Jordan and Clinton Brown on the webinar a handful of months ago. But if you click the units button in the left menu and go down to member-led webinars, you can find a whole conversation dedicated to how to throw your own citizen taco. It's pretty cool. Julian, I know you've taken a lot of great action for the community of Sioux Falls. You're in the restaurant game, you're a police officer, and now you're going to be a prospective council person for the city of Sioux Falls. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey for you and how Strongtown kind of complements what your goals are?
I've heard people ask that question before and reference the word journey before. And for me, it's not necessarily a journey. It's just something that we've been doing for years. My wife and I have been out in the community. We've lived in Sioux Falls for 14 years. Wow. And we've been out in the community, starting off by serving the youth, the YMCA, coaching basketball 13 years ago. That's how we started. Awesome. And from there, we've, become business owners. We've gotten involved in several nonprofit organizations. And so it's something that we've just been doing really the entirety of our adulthood. And so for me, it was just a natural progression because of the work that we already do. Start actually making some impact on the decisions. So sitting at the table is one thing, right? You can have a seat at the table, but if you don't have a voice at the table, it really means nothing. And so we can go up and we can talk in front of city council as citizens, but until we take our place at the table and we represent the people, then I don't think, really our voice will be listened to. So for me, it's more about me doing this and showing other community members, specifically minority community members, that they can do the exact same thing. They can step up. They can allow their voice to be heard, run for office, make the impact that's necessary in Sioux Falls. So
I love it, Jordan. Forgive me, Julian. And Julian, I'll tell you what, like we are all for you, man, and we love the work that you're doing. At Strong Towns, we have this term called strong citizens. These are folk who love where they live and choose to take action to make their place stronger. Yeah. And the great action that people can take is to run for an elected office. So, Julian, all love for you, friend. We're going to be rooting for you throughout this process over the next few months. We got you, friend. We're overjoyed. To wrap up, say we have someone listening to this webinar. They're vibing with the Strong Towns content, but they're struggling to take that next step to find their posse and actually bring the Strong Towns movement and this message into their community. Thinking back on the experiences of Strong Towns Sioux Falls, all the great experiences that you've witnessed, all the great action that you've inspired, for someone listening who wants to take that next step, what are some final messages that you have for them?
Find someone just as crazy as you. Listen, when you talk about Jordan and Clint, this is crazy as each other. So find somebody who's willing to be crazy with you.
Love it.
And I think you have to recognize that this is you're talking about a movement.
Yeah.
You're talking about a cultural change.
Yep.
And how that starts is like this.
Yep.
It's going to be slow.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a grind. But what you do is you do the little things. You do the little bets. Start the weekly conversation. You show up at one place. You're going to meet. If you're the only one who shows up, well, then you're going to get some work done.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're going to do. But then if somebody else shows up, then you're going to talk to them.
Right.
Beautiful.
And you're just going to keep doing that and keep doing that. Eventually, there's going to be a point where you're going to hit critical mass, and it's going to turn like this. And I don't even know. I'll be quite honest. There have been some amazing opportunities that have come in the last, last several months, but even in the last week that have emerged that would have never been possible back before I started doing these weekly conversations. So just start doing something. It's going to take a while, but you'll get there. So
that's a beautiful message, Jordan.
Prepare and embrace for pushback because it will happen.
Yeah.
I would like to say it will eventually happen, but it will immediately happen. so prepare for that right away.
Beautiful. That's a great message, y'all, and just such a great reminder about the Strong Towns ethos. This is not a top-down organization. This is a bottom-up revolution. It happens city by city. It happens in Sioux Falls, in Denton, wherever you are. And these local conversations, these groups just like Strong Towns Sioux Falls, meeting, inspiring one another to take action, rethink how we build financial resilience in our communities is huge. Jordan and Julian, thank y'all. This has been such a joy. Again, we have so much love for you all. I know Jordan's a OG with the Strong Towns Sioux Falls crew, but has done a great job of bringing people like Julian and others into the game. We're so excited. And folk watching this, if you are inspired by this story, you've been vibing with the Strong Towns content, please consider joining the movement today. We had a few dozen folk join yesterday. Again, a lot of great stuff happening in Strong Towns, not only, again, on the national level with the tour, but in our communities all across the country, including Sioux Falls, as we learned today. So please, if you want to join this movement, check out strongtowns.org/membership. We would love to have you alongside as we truly do lead a bottom-up revolution. Jordan, Julian, fellas, thank you. This has been so much fun. Again, keep us updated. I'll keep peeping the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Fellas, we'll talk soon. Thank y'all.
See you.
Peace.